Man, let's go ahead and talk about this shit. You know how it is with your boy Love One to Hate One. I'm gonna deliver. So just relax, grab your popcorn. But let's talk about some real shit real quick. All you guys out there that sneak into my channel to watch my videos and not hitting the like button, that hate is in your blood, yo. Your boy Love One and Hate One put in that work. Now, I know it's in your blood to be a hater. But come on, try to grow out of that shit. A hater equals a sucker. Now, for all you guys out there that been rocking with your boy Love One Hate One, you know how I get down? Let's go ahead and talk this real shit.
Across the ring.
The counter punch.
Back at y'all with another episode of my sparring stories. And you guys already know how I get down my sparring stories. I get deep, I go in depth, and I tell you guys what the fuck you want to hear. Now, I see a lot of people out there try to say, get to the point, but you have to understand. Good storytellers are detail-oriented. Good storytellers tell you everything from the beginning to the end. So be patient and enjoy this interesting sparring story. Now, let me let you guys know what happened from the beginning to the end with these guys. Errol Spence. This is when Errol Spence wasn't even really known like that. Errol Spence always been known to hardcore boxing fans. But let's be honest, you guys, for the most part, a lot of these guys are casuals. A lot of people didn't even know who the fuck Errol Spence was. And this is me being nice saying this. It could be more recent than this. But I would say the Chris Algieri fight. Because I remember when Errol Spence stopped Chris Algieri, that's when he was like, oh, Pacquiao didn't do it. Then a lot of people started looking at Errol Spence like, oh, shit, we might have to watch out for this guy. Well, for all the people out there that don't know, that was around the time when he fought Chris Algieri, Leonard Bundu. That was around the time when he faced Jose Benavidez Jr. For those of the people out there that don't know, once upon a time, Jose Benavidez Jr. was looked at one of those guys that could be a real problem in the sport of boxing. Same shit like his brother. Jose Benavidez Jr. was supposed to be what David Benavidez is now. Too bad he got shot in the leg, kind of lost love for the sport, etc. But it's mainly the leg shit. That's why when Errol Spence told Terrence Crawford, man, you fought Jose Benavidez Jr., a guy with one leg. Because Errol Spence, remember, when he sparred Jose Benavidez Jr., and he had two legs. And Jose Benavidez Jr. was a problem at one time. I know now you guys are probably listen to what I'm saying and think I'm just bullshitting or crazy, like it's hard to believe, right? No, at that time, this was about, 2015, 2016, a good 7 to 8 years ago, this fight took place, y'all. Now, I know some of you guys out there will say, man, who cares? We all know Errol Spence would easily beat Jose Benavidez Jr. Man, use your brain. We are talking about, at this time, 7 to 8 years ago, before he got shot, he was like, what? He was like 21-0, like what? 18-17 knockout. A high KO ratio. You guys have to understand that undefeated confidence is something different, especially before all the injuries and age. And it's crazy, Jose Benavidez Jr. is what? 30 years old? He's not even old. But due to the wear and tear, being shot, all that shit, he's really like 35, 36. Some of that wear and tear, it puts some age on you. This is no bullshit. Another thing, Jose Benavidez Jr. always been known as a big trash talker. If you know, you know. Terrence Crawford was damn near losing the trash talking ability or the trash talking part of the game when it came down to Jose Benavidez Jr. And I remember they back and forth. That's why Terrence Crawford, he tried to sock his ass in the press conference. Remember that shit? Not because, Jose Benavidez Jr. pushed him. No, it's because he was under Terrence Crawford's skin a little bit. I remember one time, this is before the Terrence Crawford fight, before they even signed the fight, they were going back and forth. Jose Benavidez Jr. was telling him, you know how I'm going to beat your ass, you never face a fight like me, etc., right? And it was funny because it was somebody on Terrence Crawford's team. They said this shit. And they said that, damn, man, he is talking shit to Crawford. Like, and keep in mind, this is, like I said, this is somebody on Bud's team saying this shit. So, back to my point, I'm just letting you guys know that Jose Benavidez Jr. basically talked his ass into this sparring session with Errol Spence. And let me also say this. Until that point, not only Jose Benavidez Jr. was undefeated, but he was also undefeated in sparring. See, a lot of people lie to themselves and they say, nobody cares about sparring. Sparring is sparring. Listen, man, I don't give a fuck about practice. You guys could keep using the Allen Iverson line and lie to yourself and say, practice? We're talking about practice? Man, let me tell you guys a little inside scoop. Kobe Bryant, he used to play people in basketball for money. Matt Barnes, everybody that was on, the Laker team that was a threat. Now, I ain't gonna even say a threat because nobody could fuck with Kobe, right? But they will always try to challenge Kobe. And Kobe would, take bets, my 100 to your 50, shit like that. Just messing around. And I know this is a fact because I got family members that went to school with Lamar Odom and still speak to Lamar Odom to this day. And Kobe and Lamar Odom used to play one-on-one all the time for money. And don't get it twisted, you guys. Not only they play for money, but sometimes they used to just run pickup games. Because if you in there competing with the best, that's going to sharpen your toolbox. I don't give a fuck who you are. If my black ass is in there competing with, let's say, a Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk or a fucking Floyd Mayweather, yes, they're way better than me, but that's still going to sharpen my tools. You get what I'm saying? So all you guys saying, oh, practice is just practice, that is bullshit. Because Kobe was in there running their ass for money and he was running their ass for free pickup games. Just straight ego on the line. And Kobe wasn't trying to get away with shit. You guys could attest what I'm saying. Remember, Kobe, he would record YouTube videos playing basketball with the kids and he wasn't giving them shit. That's right. I'm going to take your ass serious. I don't give a fuck if it's sparring. That's that competitive mentality. You're not trying to lose that shit. So stop trying to use that as a reason. Like, for example, and I'll tell you guys, Errol Spence whipped Floyd as a sparring. You guys say, oh, we're talking about sparring? Man, get the fuck out of here and stop trying to save your boyfriend. You know for a fact that sparring is sparring, yes. But that don't mean you're just trying to get your ass whipped because it's sparring. So I know you guys are probably like, let's get into the actual sparring. I just have to lay the facts out there first. But when it comes down to the actual sparring, and this may sound funny because usually I get real, overly dramatic and deep when it comes down to the actual sparring itself, but these guys just went about 6-7 rounds, and Errol Spence completely dominated Jose Benavidez Jr., y'all. When it counted. And what I mean by that is Jose Benavidez Jr. he's a shell of himself now in a sense. He's not the same Jose he once was. You guys have to understand, at this time, they was talking about Jose Benavidez Jr. more than David Benavidez. They didn't even give a fuck about David Benavidez like that. This was supposed to be Jose Benavidez Sr., next biggest star. He was the one that was supposed to be facing Errol Spence. Well, he faced Terrence Crawford on the big stage, but he was supposed to be beating these guys on the big stage, not just facing them, right? So with that being said, because of Jose Benavidez Jr.'s big mouth, he forced Errol Spence to put it all on the line on him. He was beating the living shit out of Jose Benavidez Jr. Don't get it twisted. Jose Benavidez will land some shots here and there, but I got to hearing that Jose Benavidez Jr. tried to bring up the weight issue. He tried to say that Errol Spence should be a fucking light heavyweight or at least at 160. He started bringing that up. He started making excuses after it and shit like that. That's why when Errol Spence told Terrence Crawford, you fought a guy with one leg. He's talking about that experience because Jose Benavidez Jr. was using his legs a lot against Errol Spence. And he would make Errol Spence pay here and there. But from what I'm hearing, you guys, Errol Spence embarrassed that boy for 6 to 7 rounds in that sparring session, you guys. So this is not even a long video because that's basically what happened from the beginning to the end.